Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Christine, and today's video is one that has been requested so many times by my friends. It is my homemade pizza dough / pizza. And it is just 6 ingredients for the pizza dough. It's a little bit of a process, so I wanted to walk you through the steps and then go through and make the entire pizza. It's Friday night, and my husband and I want pizza for dinner, so I just thought I'd show you all of the different steps, so come on with. Okay, so first things first, I'm getting my water up to roughly about 105 degrees. It's a little bit warmer than that right now. There we go, we're at 105-ish. So I'm going to get this in the bowl, and we're going to activate our yeast first. So that's 1 cup of warm water up to 105 degrees. And then I'm going in with a scant tablespoon because I want a little bit thinner of a crust. So I'm adding that. It's floating on the top, and then we're going to activate it with our sugar. So I'm going to do another scant tablespoon of sugar, and you should start seeing some action right away. And you want this to meld together for at least 5 minutes. And then this way you know that your yeast is good. This is fairly new, and I keep it in the fridge, so it should be just fine. So I'll bring you back roughly in about 5 minutes, and you'll see the difference. So there we go, that's our timer for 5 minutes, and it's looking nice and foamy, so I do feel comfortable adding the next ingredients. As you can see, it is looking pretty good. All right, so the next ingredient that I'm going to add is my oil, and you just want to kind of do it slowly. It is 1 tablespoon, and I'm using avocado oil, and you can use olive oil, etc. And you just want to kind of add it slowly instead of just kind of dumping it in. And we're going to give that a quick stir. Here we go. Salt we are adding. I'm just using my Redmond's real salt, and that's a teaspoon. And you can also use Celtic salt. That's the other unbelievably good salt for you. Now, we are going to be adding our flour. I'm going to be adding 2 cups, and I like to spoon it into my vessel here. So here we go. Here's the first cup. There we go. I do leave the flour out in case the dough is extra sticky, and I can add some more, but we're going to give this a stir until it starts forming a dough, and then we're going to pull it out, and we're going to knead it with our hands for at least 5 minutes. Looking good. The consistency is looking very good. So one tip and trick for different dough to grab, and actually I love this. I mean, look at it. It's hardly sticking to it. Danish dough whisk. One trick is I'm going to go wet my hands down, and then when I grab it, it won't be quite as sticky. And then I'm going to get this in place. Okay, so I've got my hands wet, and I'm just getting this out. Actually, let me flour the surface first. And that's what you want. You just want a nice fluffy surface for the dough to go on, and you'll see the consistency, and you just want to fold and push and fold and push, and you just, like I said, you do this for 5 to 10 minutes because everything melded together. And then, so you can see how sticky it is, we're going to let it rise, and you can let it rise anywhere from, I want to say 10 minutes to 90 minutes. It just depends on what type of crust you want. So the lesser the time that you let it rise, the thinner the crust will be. And then the longer, the 90 minutes-ish, the fluffier the dough, the crust will be on your pizza. I'm just gonna keep kneading, flouring as I need. I'll bring you back, as soon as I have it rolled up into a ball, and then we're going to let it sit for I don't know, my husband and I tend to like thinner dough, so I'm not gonna let it sit quite as long. I'll probably do about half time. So let's keep mixing, and then as soon as I'm ready, I'll bring you back. Pretty much ready, I think. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of flour in the bottom of where I mixed it so it doesn't stick. And we are going to set the timer for 45 minutes. And then I'm just going to put a little covering over the top of it, and we're just gonna let it do its thing. We're just gonna let it rise. So meanwhile, the dough is rising. I'm going to get our sausage that we're going to be putting on, get that up and going. My husband and I like a little bit of spice, and I tried to pick one of the most natural ones that I saw at the store, and it's the no MSG, no artificial ingredients, gluten-free, blah, blah, blah. So I am just getting this into my cast iron, and I want to break it down as much as I can, not adding anything to it, and just get that going. So I'm just going to turn this off and let it sit, and right now we've got 36 minutes left for the dough to rise. Right now there is about 3 minutes left or so. I'm going to start getting my pan preheated. So I'm going to put this in an oven at 450 degrees, my super big cast iron that we will be baking in. Okay, so the timer just went off. That was 45 minutes. And whoa, you can really see how much this has spread. So I've got a nice base down here. We are going to be doing some kneading again. So let me just wet my hands down real quick. And I'm just going to pull this out and just start the kneading process again, one last time. Meanwhile, the cast iron is heating up in a 450 degree oven. And you just want to, like I said, I'm not a real professional kneader, but it works. And then after we're done kneading here for these few minutes, I have my rolling pin out, and we are going to roll the dough out the best that we can. So I'm just going to keep going for, like I said, roughly about 5 minutes. So here we go. I am just going to add some flour to my little rolling pin. And right now the oven is about 400-ish. So we're just gonna let it get up to temperature. I have a very large pan that we are putting this in. Look how nice this is rolling out. I'm so happy with this specific recipe. I kind of tweaked it to what I like, and it just never fails. So this is one of my fun things that I like to do for family, or I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and like toss it up in the air or anything, but I really like to make this for family and friends. It's a little time consuming, but it just, wait till you see how this turns out. Okay, so this is where all the magic is gonna happen, because I am actually going to be pulling this very warm pan out in about 15 more degrees, but I like to get my sauce ready. So I use some tomato paste, roughly about a half of a can, and then I like to use just regular pasta sauce like you would put on a spaghetti, and then just thicken it up. Again, roughly half of the jar. And then that gives it a really nice consistency. But yeah, this makes like such a nice, you know, thicker, like pizza sauce. This specific consistency, like that. Oh, there we go. All right, we're at 450. I'm gonna add a little bit more. So let me put this away quick, wash my hands, and we'll get the pan out. All right, here we go. The pan is heated up to the 450. I'm gonna get that closed again right away. And right now, just be so careful because this thing is blazing. I am going to add a little bit of oil and let that kind of spread out. I like to add the cornmeal. And cornmeal is just what it is. I mean, it's just adds that extra layer on the bottom so that it doesn't stick. So now let's get the crust over into the pan. Look, I did pretty good guessing. There's a little bit of up on the sides. And like I said, just be so careful. So my next fun thing that I like to do also is I like to butter the crust on the edge, because it just kind of gives it that extra little crunchiness. So there we go. We are ready for our ingredients. All right, we are going to start out with our pasta sauce. Okay. And then here we go, a little bit of Parmesan before I add the meat. And I'll probably have some meat left. That was like a full pound and a half, I want to say. And then just a little bit of mozzarella. Well, actually, here's the blend. So mozzarella, provolone, Parmesan, and Romano. Because I did that, I'm going to add some oregano. There we go. Let's get the meat on. It should be fairly cooled. So right now, I'm trying to make that just like a single layer of meat. It's looking pretty good. And I'm going to go in with just a smidge more of cheese. A little bit of each. I've got Parmesan here. And then we'll add our other fun ingredients. So I've got some olives. So that's looking good. I am actually going to put some actual garlic on. I think I've got about 3 cloves, so that house will smell wonderful after it's all kind of baked in. I've got some mushrooms that I kind of drained off. That's about it on the mushrooms. Let's do one more layer of oregano on top of those. Some Roma tomatoes. Like Romas are great for paste. They're a little bit drier of a tomato, so you don't get quite as wet. All right, and I'm so excited for you to see how this turns out. And my husband and I are very excited to eat it tonight. It's one of those things that I do make for parties sometimes, but it kind of does take a few hours. All right, here we go. Last topping of cheese. This does cook quite a while, anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes. A little bit of parm. All right, we are ready to put this back in the oven and set the timer. And we're gonna get this back in at 450. I'm going on the top rack. Checking it every 10 minutes or so, and if I need to turn it. So we'll see you in about 10 minutes. Okay, so that's been 10 minutes at 450. I'm just gonna give it a check. It's coming along nicely. I am gonna flip it, put it back in for at least another 10. Okay, here we go. Let's give it a check. This is at 20 minutes. Ooh, yeah. It's looking pretty darn good. Because it's so thick, I think I'm just gonna go in for about 5 more minutes and then we'll call it good. So I'm gonna set the timer for 5. All right, timer just went off. Let's get this out and sitting to set for a few minutes. Oh yeah, it's looking so good. Let's get this off. We'll see you in between 5 and 10 minutes to kind of let it cool down and get all set up, but it looks great. Look at it. Oh, wonderful. So here I go. I've let it sit for about 5 minutes. I am still using my hot pad because the oven was so hot. And I'm just going to cut into it with my regular pizza cutter. And my husband and I actually like squares, just that's kind of how we grew up. So we will be square cutting this. All right, I've got it all cut up, and I'm going to get this piece out for my test tasting. Look at this baby, it looks so good. All right, let's get this video closed up. Okay, so my husband is waiting patiently to eat dinner, but here we go. I just want to show you how unbelievably crunchy and delicious. And the toppings obviously are your choice. The other thing that I didn't mention, as I need to wipe my mouth, the other thing I didn't mention was once you have the dough ball ready, you, instead of like waiting for the time frame to make the dough, you actually can throw it in the freezer at that point. Wrap it up in some plastic, put it in a freezer safe baggie, etc., and then you'll have it for future. And then after you take it out of the freezer, you let it get to room temperature and then kind of start the process over of letting it rise for the 45 minutes to 90 minutes, and then take it back out, and then you knead it again, etc. I have fallen in love with this recipe because every time it turns out, like I have never not had the dough rise, etc. And just make sure that your yeast is good. But I couldn't wait to show you this recipe and give it a test taste. Like I said, my husband's waiting patiently in the garage right now. So I just thought I'd show you one of our favorite people-pleasing recipes of all time. So thanks for stopping by my little channel. And if you like videos like this, kind of simple recipes that you can use over and over again, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time on Christine's Routines. Take care and God bless. Now it's time to call my husband in for dinner. Here he is. What do you think? All right. How wonderful homemade pizza is. And then you knead it again, etc. But I have fallen in love. Let's try that again. I have